What can we learn from Killer Mike? What can we learn from Ice Cube? Come on to the room, folks. Damien Jones podcast. Want to have a quick conversation with you. Hope you're well. Hope you're blessed. Hope you are voting. Hope you are social distancing. Hope that you are taking care of your body. Hope that you are healthy. Come on into the room. Come on into the room. Come on into the room. You know, I want to talk about Ice Cube because y'all are giving this brother too much grief. Y'all are talking too ill about this brother. And I want to have a conversation about this. So come on into invite people to the room, tap people to this room. We can have this quick conversation. Glad that you are with us. And I want to hear from you. What can we learn? Tell me in the comments. What can we learn from Ice Cube? What can we learn from Killer Mike? Did Ice Cube make the right decision in talking with Donald Trump? Talk to me. Tell me in the comments. I want to hear these things from you. Come on into the room. Tell me what you think. So let me just start by saying this as folks pile into the room. I want to lead with this comment. I want to lead with this particular statement. And I learned this from some great old heads in politics, especially with black folks. We should have no permanent enemies. We only have permanent interests. Make sure you're liking this broadcast. If you're the first time watching, hit the like button. Regular viewer, hit the like button. Hit the like button on YouTube. Subscribe as well. Periscope, Twitter. Thank you for being here. But we should have no permanent enemies, but only permanent interests, right? Our interest to get better, our interest to build wealth for our long-term wealth in our family. Those should be our interests. But y'all are, I'm reading the comments across the board. Y'all want to cancel Ice Cube. Y'all are calling him a coon, and you know how I feel about that. Y'all are saying he's not smart enough to negotiate. Y'all are saying he's not skilled to negotiate. Y'all are saying all these different things about Ice Cube, right? And so I just put up that post, I put up that picture, and I laid out what I see are the facts as it relates to this situation. And it's a macrocosm conversation of what I've been talking about the last several weeks about the conundrum of being a black man in America, the conundrum of being a black man, and by God, how dare you want to wield power? How dare you want to put yourself in powerful spaces? How dare you want to sit in the room with the most powerful people in the world and to negotiate and to talk about the interests of black people? How dare Ice Cube have faith in himself and to use his platform to uplift his people? How dare he do such a thing? That's the psyche what y'all are saying by talking down and saying he's a Trump supporter. So let me lay out the facts of what we know, because I want to talk about facts. I want to talk about facts, and I want to talk about what we know for a fact is happening. So let me pull up my post here, right, and just lay it out. I was thinking about that. I woke up this morning. I said, let me, because I hate when our brothers are being attacked in such a way. You know, brothers have been crying out for help, saying that they don't feel welcome in the Democratic Party. And you got folks saying, well, y'all stupid. Y'all shouldn't say that. You just go ahead and ride along with the white man who's locked up hundreds of thousands of black folks. That aside, I don't want to talk about that right now. But here's my comment. Here's what I said. America does not want a black man to insert himself into places of power. They only want to see us play basketball, play football, UFC, box, play sport. They only want to see us be barbarians. America is only comfortable with a black man being in a space of performative sport or barbarians of some sort. Don't be a black researcher or a thinker and have deep thoughts about things. They'll attack your credibility. Don't be an independent thinker in the political space and make some wins. They'll attack your credibility, right? Don't begin to build media networks for Black people and things of that nature. They'll attack your credibility. They only want to see us throwing touchdowns, running for touchdowns. They only want to see us perform in movies. They only want to see us in a performance space. And when I say they, I'm talking about all of America, Black folks included. Because the comments that I'm reading from Black people are very disappointing. As you talk about the moves that Ice Cube has made. So here are the facts, my friends. DamienJones podcast, like this broadcast, share this broadcast. Ice Cube, and to that particular point, that's why I played the music at the beginning of J. Cole in that song called Kenny Lofton. And he says they only care about you when you're dribbling a ball or you're throwing touchdowns, when you're scoring an NCAA championship for Nick Saban in Alabama, or you're winning NCAA championships in Kentucky. They don't care about you then, right? Or they only care about your life once you die. Like, nobody cared about George Floyd as he lived and breathed on this earth, but then in his death, he's become a deity, right? And so Ice Cube has built an empire. His movie, here are the numbers, Steve. His movies have grossed $2.4 billion worldwide. Why? Because we like to see Ice Cube perform. We like to see him act. We like to see him write movies and plays and those ideas. And we go and we watch Barbershop and we cracking it up and we eating the popcorn. Oh, this is a good movie. Oh, this is a good movie. We love it. We love Ice Cube in that space. Now, we know Ice Cube from his role with Negroes with an Attitude, NWA. Okay. As I looked at the numbers, that biopic, NWA, was one of the highest grossing movies in worldwide history, because we like to see that culture. NWA still shapes Black culture to this very moment. Many of you can rattle off all the names of the songs right now that you enjoyed back in your day. The Jerry curls, the black attire, the snapback hats, the cars, all those different things stem from Ice Cube, right? And so that's extremely important. I'm getting a text here. And so let me continue to lay out the facts. As you folks say that Cube is a Trump supporter. Let's be clear. Let me be clear on two things here. Number one, I'm not a Trump supporter. Okay, let me just make that clear, because I know somebody's gonna come down in the comments and say, "Well, do you support Trump?" You know, that's what people say when they hear independent thinking Black men and women who want to be objective in their political discourse. They say, well, if you're not calling Trump a racist and the worst thing on earth, then you support Trump. No, that makes me an independent, objective thinker who can put together objective and substantive ideas into a thought, and can exchange ideas with folks who I may disagree with. So one, I'm not a Trump supporter, and no, Ice Cube never endorsed Donald Trump. He never said that he was a Trump supporter whatsoever. But you all have come to that deduction somehow. Hey, Kiki, good to be with you. You all have come to that deduction somehow because he had a conversation with the Trump campaign. We don't even know if he met with Donald Trump. All we know is he had dialogue with the Trump campaign. And you folks are instantly saying he's a Trump supporter, right? So let me make. I thought about this analogy last night as I lay down and go to sleep, because I knew I was gonna make this video and I wanted to try to make it plain. How many of you watch Power? How many of you watch Power? And I'm talking about Power with James St. Patrick, and Power with Tariq is pretty good, but Power with James St. Patrick, and almost at least once every season, there was a time where James and Tommy were faced with life and death. There was a time when they were faced with life and death and they had to make certain decisions. They were faced with, this person is going to kill me. They're going to end my life. But maybe I can make a deal Maybe I can make a deal with someone who's not a normal ally, but I can make a deal because it's life and death, and I'd rather live than to die. Those are the predicaments that James St. Patrick and Tommy were always in. And so they would make kind of uncanny deals with different people. And so eventually James would make a deal with somebody that he probably didn't like, that he despised, but because that person was in a position of power, he sat down and he made deals with people to advance his mission, which was to live, his mission, which was to make money, so forth and so on. And right. And so I aligned that kind of analogy to what it is that Ice Cube was doing when he had conversation and dialogue with the Trump campaign. Black folks in this country, I don't know if y'all can see that. Shout out to my wife and my new cup here. Black folks in this country are in a life and death situation. And it didn't start this year. We've been in life and death situations for 400 years in this country. President after president after president has made promises, empty promises. Our conditions have barely improved. Wealth inequality is still abhorrent. The gap is still great. Black housing numbers are still awful. Black education is still awful, right? Folks still can't recover from illnesses, pre-existing conditions. Folks are dying. Black folks catching hell, right? And so we're facing life and death in this country. And so Cube made a decision to say, I don't like Donald Trump. I'm not a big fan of Donald Trump, but he's the sitting United States president. Let me have dialogue with him. And so listen, here's another thing. Cube didn't wait for white folks to write a agenda for Black Americans. He wrote it himself. The Contract with Black America, CWBA. You'll see that. And many of you have read it. Tell me what you think about it. He crafted that. He didn't allow white folks or any other group to tell Black people what we need. He wrote the document and pushed it out to both parties. He sent it out to the Biden campaign, as we understand. He sent it out to the Trump campaign, as we understand, right? And he awaited response from both parties because he wanted to negotiate. Here's the thing, a lot of you don't understand about negotiation. Negotiation is not talking to one person. Negotiation to achieve your goals and to get what you want means that you have to talk to everybody involved, right? If you want to sell your product to the highest bidder, you go talk to all bidders and get their bids, then you make the best decision. If you only talk to one group, you're going to miss out on a good bid. And that means you're not a good business person. And so, Cube, I appreciate you, Terrence Turner. Appreciate you, good brother. Appreciate everybody tuning in. Tell me your thoughts. Give me your thoughts. And so, Cube awaited response from both parties. The response he got back from the Biden campaign was, wait until after the election and we will talk to you. I'm gonna just sit that right there for a second. Ice Cube, $1 billion movie producer, $1 billion music producer, musician, well known across this globe, $1 million basketball league, reaches out and says, I want to talk with you about your plan. Now, I don't think Cardi B had any problems getting in contact with the Biden campaign. I don't think they told her, wait until after the election. But they told Ice Cube, for some reason, I can't say what that reason was. I can't speak to it. But according to what Cube said, they told him, wait till after the election. Here's the problem. Poverty can't wait till after the election. Fixing poverty can't wait till after the election. Decrepit schools. Can't wait till after the election. Healthcare issues. Can't wait till after the election. And so for me, it shows that is a macrocosm of Black folks in Democratic politics. Wait till after the election. Wait, we'll get to you. Wait, just hold on. Oh, I think it's a great idea. But wait, we'll get to you in just a moment. Let us take care of the things that we think are more important. Because talking with this famous Black man that has a intellectual plan to boost the economy in our community is something that can wait to after the election. We want your votes first. Then we'll talk with you. Well, at that point, you lose all your leverage. Because Black folks, what we got to understand is that we have all the leverage right now. When a person wants something from you, you use that time frame to get your demands in when you can. Once they achieve the goal and get from you what it is that they want, then there's no more use for you. And so what Cube is doing is utilizing the leverage of this campaign, right? And so and it goes to my larger point here. Excuse me, Damien Jones podcast. The Trump campaign immediately reached out and said, hey, let's have a conversation. They didn't say, hey, we want you to come be an ambassador for our campaign. We want you to endorse us. They didn't. It was none of that. It was, let's have a conversation, right? And there's no way we can advance our plight. There's no way we can move our community forward. There's no way that we can make sure our communities are stronger if we're talking to one person. For those of you that are in the dating scene, are you talking to one person or are you having several conversations to see what your options are, to make sure you're picking the right person, to let people understand that I'm not putting all my eggs in one basket. I got more going on than just you. And that is the relationship of African Americans and Democrats. We're single, but we're running up behind Democrats. We're running up behind the Democratic Party. All of our eggs are in that basket. We're texting the Democratic Party. They don't text back. They leave us on read. We'll get to you after the election. And I'm not saying that the Republican Party is the end all be all and that they're doing everything right for Black folks. But what I'm saying is that they're showing a propensity to listen. They invited Cube in for a conversation. They've listened to other folks, right? They've listened to other Black men. That's why Black men are matriculating over to that camp, because at least somebody will listen to them. And Black men have been crying out for years and decades about the issues that we face in this country, but Democrats are not listening. They push every agenda above the plight of the Black man and the Black family and not listening. And so this is a perfect example of that. And I say, what can we learn from Ice Cube and Killer Mike? Killer Mike, y'all gave him grief a few weeks ago when he sat down with Republican governor of Georgia, Brian Kemp, right? But then shortly thereafter, Killer Mike just rolled out the first online digital Black bank that is about creating resources and capital for small businesses and those in our community, right? But you can't build those type of enterprises without talking to everyone involved. And so for those of you that say that Killer Mike and Ice Cube are coons, for those of you that say that they are sellouts, for those of you that say that they did the right thing by talking to Republicans, shame on you. You're narrow-minded. You don't understand the larger picture, the bigger game. And having a conversation with someone does not mean that you agree with the things that they do. and agree with their positions. It means that you have to have a conversation to inject your position and your plight and your goals into the conversation. We always talk about, well, if you're not at the table, then you're on the menu. Well, by golly, Ice Cube and Killer Mike put themselves at the table, but we still want to critique them and criticize them in doing such things. So let me walk through some of the critiques that I've seen, and I want to speak to it a bit here. All right. Now, the difference between, I'll say this really quickly, the difference between what Killer Mike was, not Killer Mike, Ice Cube conversation with, for those who say, well, Biden already has a plan. Okay, cool. Biden has a plan. And it's not the end all be all, it's one plan. We need to look at other plans, right? But what I've heard, what I've read and heard from many scholars who critique the Biden plan, there's nothing directly speaking directly to earmarking dollars for Black people. It's a lot of vague language. It's communities of color. It's underserved communities, right? That doesn't directly say Black people, because in underserved communities, you have Black folk, brown folk, red folk. You have women in there. You have LGBTQ in there as well. You could say minority groups. You can say women, women or what have you. So there's very vague language, right, in there. What Cube was saying when he sat down with the Trump campaign is earmark dollars. Be explicit in your support for Black people. Listen, I had a conversation with the Texas Democratic Party chair, Gilberto Hinojosa, on this particular show a few months ago, and I asked him a direct question. I said, hey, you just raised millions of dollars at your convention. How many of those dollars are you going to earmark directly to build Black communities and Black voters and develop Black candidates? He couldn't give me an answer. You know why? Because he has no real commitment. It's all hot air. It's all talk, right? And so Cube wants folks, and we ought to ask for it. Earmark dollars. Stop giving us platitudes. How much money are you going to directly give Black people and set aside to build Black communities and help build Black wealth? We got to demand more, people. So here are the critiques that I've heard. I heard somebody say he's not skilled in negotiations. He shouldn't be in that room. Let me say this again. And this is how people tear down Black men. They say Ice Cube is not skilled in negotiating and he shouldn't be in the room negotiating on behalf of Black people. I just told you Ice Cube's movies have grossed $2.4 billion. If you go back and watch NWA, the movie, it was Ice Cube who walked into the record company office with a bat and demanded that they tear up the contract and give me my money because they were getting screwed. It's Ice Cube who has built a media empire. It is Ice Cube who has built $1 million basketball league as well, the Big Three. So for you to sit here and say he's not skilled in negotiating, he's one of the best businessmen you'll see in this country. And sitting at the table from a business standpoint is how you hone your negotiating skills. He could not have done any of what he's done in his career, and he has a massive net worth without knowing how to negotiate. But because you weren't at the table, or you didn't think highly of yourself to be at the table, then you want to tear him down and say he's not skilled to negotiate. Then who's skilled to negotiate for us, and who's been doing the negotiating? Because the negotiating that's been happening for us for 400 years ain't been working, people. It ain't been working. So we need some new negotiators at the table, right? And so I love to see a Killer Mike and an Ice Cube negotiating at the table, right? Some may say he does not. I heard another critique say he does not speak for us. You know, my good brother Quinn said he does not speak for us. He should use his platform to put people like you in the room, Damien, and others in the room who have the political expertise to work on these issues. While I agree with that, that policymakers, political experts should be in the room having these conversations. I agree. But Cube has shown the propensity to know how to negotiate. If he's made movies around what Black culture looks like, and I haven't heard anybody say the movies he put out are not accurate to Black culture. Ice Cube has been Black his whole life. And so I don't understand how we can say that he doesn't speak for Black. Then who's speaking for Black people? Who's speaking for Black people? Is it Al Sharpton? Is it Barack Obama? Is it Ben Carson? Is it? I mean, who's speaking for Black people? Who's the overall speaker for Black people? Y'all tell me. Who's our Black leader? Is it the Honorable Minister Minister Louis Farrakhan? Because y'all took him off. Y'all took him, you censored him, and took him off the airwaves. So who's speaking for Black people? If Ice Cube can't do it, Barack picks his spots when he wants to speak up for Black folks. So who's speaking up for Black people? So don't tell me Ice Cube can't speak for Black. I'm fine with Ice Cube going into the room and speaking for Black folks, right? And so, but here's, and I'll say this as I close. Somebody's blowing my phone up. The conversation that we're hearing, and here's what I think it is, really is the people, and I'm talking to Black folks. Y'all don't believe in yourselves enough. Y'all don't believe in yourselves enough to say, I'm worthy enough to sit down with the most powerful person in the world and to advocate for Black economics. I'm not worthy and good enough to speak for Black people because they'll critique me. You don't believe in yourself enough to go challenge white supremacy on its face, to challenge the Biden campaign. People get mad at me about my critiques about Biden. I don't care. I'm going to speak truth to power. Because once these campaigns are over with, we still as Black folk have to hold our head high and keep pushing for what is right and keep pushing for our communities to get better. And every 4 years, there's going to be another white guy or white woman who's going to say that they've been connected to us. So I'm going to be consistent in my critique and standing tall for our communities. But y'all don't believe in yourself enough to call out a weak lift every voice plan when you see it. Well, Biden got a plan. Okay, cool. Other people got a plan. Herman Cain had a plan. Other folks got a plan. Doesn't mean the plan is right. We've got to hold folks accountable and push them to get better. I always talk about this. It was A. Philip Randolph that pushed FDR to get better and to be a better president and speak to the issues of Black folks. It was Frederick Douglass that held Abraham Lincoln's feet to the fire to push him to be better. It was Martin King that pushed LBJ to be better and work toward and speak toward and put policy in place for African Americans. Cornel West, Tavis Smiley pushed Barack Obama, and others pushed Barack Obama to be better, right? So who's going to push Joe Biden? If we're going to push Donald Trump, we need to push Joe Biden. We need to push everybody else on behalf of Black people, and that's what Ice Cube is doing. So you can't fault Ice Cube for reaching out to both camps, and one camp says wait, because Black folks can't wait any longer. We've been waiting for 400 years. We can't wait any longer. And so it ticks me off. I can't say the P word. My mom told me I can't say it, but it ticks me off, people, when we continue to bash and tear down a proud Black man like Ice Cube, who's only fighting and pushing to make our communities better and make sure people respect us as to who we are and what we contribute to this country. I appreciate y'all. Like this broadcast, share this broadcast with others. Continue to say bad things about me in the comments. I appreciate it. Say bad things about Ice Cube and Killer Mike as well. But believe in yourselves more to challenge white supremacy on its face and get more for your vote. God bless you. Thank you. I appreciate you. As always, continue to live your life with intensity, integrity, and intelligence. This is the Damien Jones Podcast.